Welcome to the Recon Trader. In today's video, I will share with you a new scalping strategy I have been working on that turns out to be fairly accurate. As you can see just from the sample trades on the screen here, we get a buy signal back here and we get a good run up. We get a sell signal right here and then the price sells off. Another little buy signal right here and we get a little bit of a run off or a small profit, and then we get another sell signal and the market dumps. But with that being said, there will be losers, and so far my back testing has shown this to be about 80% accurate, and for a scalping strategy in my book, that's fairly accurate. And this strategy actually consists of 3 of my indicators. The first one is a new one, and that's the RECON ATR Moving Average VWAP Scalper. That's a mouthful, but that's a new indicator I created that will have these buy and sell signals along with VWAP, which would be the green line you see down here, and a moving average for confirmation of these signals. However, even though this has essentially 3 indicators built into one, I am still looking at my RECON Scalper indicator to again confirm these signals, and I am also using another new indicator I've created called RECON Momentum to again confirm momentum is actually going in the direction of the trade that I'm in. For example, back here you can see on this buy signal, the momentum this whole way up is rising, and in the bright green, as soon as it starts to turn to dark green, that's typically an indication that the momentum is shifting towards the downside, which, as you can see, we get that shift. Then we get an entry signal and confirmation on these indicators that the momentum, in this case, is moving down. And as you can see, the indicator histogram does flip down below the baseline, and you can see the momentum moving down as this price sells off. So with that being said, I know a lot of you out there are going to say, yeah, but how does it perform under live fire? Well, I have actually just started deploying this to live fire, and a recent trade that I took with these 3 indicators, we get the sell signal, we get the crossover on the scalper confirmation, and we see the momentum is trending down. And so I went and got short on ETH USDT, and I captured a 20% profit over on Bybit. Now, with that being said, I did use 10x leverage. I was looking at a 2% move. So with that 10x leverage, that turned into a 20% profit. But even with a couple good live fire trades under my belt and this good back testing, there's still a lot of work to be done on this strategy before it's truly battle ready. So let's get a little further into the weeds on how these trades are setting up, how I'm entering, how I'm exiting these trades, basically the rules I'm looking at for these setups.
The code is more what you call guidelines than actual rules.
And so we will jump over here to the BTC USDT perpetual contracts. I'm using the 3-minute chart for this example over on Bybit. And as you can see, I have my RECON ATR moving average VWAP scalper indicator added to the chart. In addition to, I have my RECON scalper and the RECON momentum indicators added to this chart as well. And so we will start with the actual setup for the RECON ATR moving average VWAP scalper. And in this case, if I click on the cog for the settings, you can see my moving average source is close. The moving average type I'm using is SMA, but I do have the option to select other moving averages. So far, I've been back testing pretty much with the SMA. The length of this moving average is 11, offset of 0. Now, the ATR sensitivity is set to 1, ATR period is set to 1, and that is what is actually triggering the buy and sell signals on my chart. And in addition to the buy and sell signals on the chart, the indicator is printing a blue line. That is going to be my moving average, and a green or red line. In this case right now, it's pretty much green. There's one moment of red right here, and that's my VWAP. And so what I'm looking for out of this indicator is the buy or sell signal. And once I get, like, for example, the sell signal, I'm looking for the price to actually be closed below the moving average or the blue line. Or if I get a buy signal, like this buy signal here, I'm looking for the price to be above the blue line or the moving average in order to get long. And so far, I don't really have any rules for the VWAP, but I can definitely use it as a guide as far as trend goes. If the price is above it, typically that means the price is trending up. If the price is below VWAP, that is typically trending down. I know a lot of traders that will only short when the price is below VWAP or only get long when the price is above VWAP. It's up to you to come up with your own rules. Next, if we jump down here to the RECON Scalper, this is an indicator that I use once again kind of for trend confirmation. I'm looking for these candles to close below or above the signal line. For example, right here you can see on this sell signal, we scroll down here to the RECON Scalper and you can see the candle closes below the signal line, and this signal would help confirm the sell signal up here. And I will also use this indicator while I'm in a trade to see if the trend is reversing. For example, I might exit when I see the trend starting to reverse, and I might actually stay in the trade even though you get maybe this green candle here. I might stay in the trade because we are so far below the signal line. This price action is trending down. Just another way that I can use my indicator over here once I'm live and in a trade. Now, the last indicator is going to be the RECON Momentum Indicator. Again, a new indicator I've just created. It's available to my YouTube channel members. So if you're not a YouTube channel member and you want access to any of my indicators, all you need to do is go and click on the join button down below. And once you join the Recon Trader YouTube channel as a member, you will have access to exclusive videos, and those videos typically are about my indicators, and they will have links to those indicators that you can then add to your chart. But that's enough jaw-jacking about that. How I'm actually using the RECON Momentum Trader is, again, to look for confirmation of this signal that the momentum is moving in the direction of this signal. And for instance, on this particular sell signals, we get the cross down below the EMA. We have the cross on the RECON Scalper signal line. And as you can see down here on the momentum, we see the bullish momentum is falling out. And actually on this signal candle, we get our first bearish column on the histogram. And again, I would use this as I'm actually live in the trade. As long as I see this momentum building in the direction of my trade, I'm more than likely going to stay in the trade. Even if we get a green candle here with this big wick towards the top, you can see the momentum indicator is still going in my direction. I'm going to stick with this trade. So those are basically the entry rules for this strategy. Now, as far as the exit rules go, I obviously have my stop loss and take profit predetermined before I enter the trade. And what that might look like for most of these trades would be, if this is the sell signal I'm entering on, I am going to have my stop loss somewhere either back above the top of the first candle, or I might take it to the previous swing high in this case because I'm going short, and that'd be around 1%. And you can see it's actually like 1.04%. I would round that down more than likely to 1% because when I'm scalping, I typically don't want to risk more than 1%. Now, as far as the take profit, when I'm scalping, I'm shooting for a minimum of a 1-to-1 risk versus reward. I'd prefer a 1-to-2, but most of the time I shoot for a 1-to-1 when I'm scalping. So if I'm at 1% on my stop loss, that's 1% risk. I need 1% profit. And if we look at this trade, we would get that 1% profit down here at the bottom of the move, which, if you look down here at the RECON Scalper, that is right when we see the indicator starting to shift back up. And you can see on the momentum that we're starting to get the dark red bars. That would indicate that the bearish momentum is starting to wane and turn to bullish momentum, which actually ends up being another trade. So that's just one example. I think I have about 14 examples. You're not going to enter on every buy or sell signal. Some of them won't qualify because they don't meet your entry rules. So what I'm going to do is drop in some horizontal lines on the trades I would have actually entered with my entry rules. And so you can see these green and red vertical lines. These would have been possible trades. And so I think there's 14 trades here on the screen. And out of those 14, 11 are winners and 3, these red ones here, are your losers. All the green lines would have been winning trades. And if we start with this first one over here and draw in our stop loss, would be more than likely up here around the top of these candles. And that's going to be a 0.4% stop loss. So I need to hit 0.4% as far as my take profit. And you can see we get that pretty much towards the bottom of that move that it's doing on the left hand side of the screen. And so that one would be a winner. And for me, I would typically be using 10x leverage when I'm scalping. Now that's highly risky, and if you're an FNG, I definitely don't recommend you using that high of leverage. But when I'm scalping, I'm typically scalping with 10x leverage, and so that 0.4% win would have actually ended up being a 4% win with 10x leverage. Now the next signal that appears is this buy signal. However, as you can see, it does not breach above the blue moving average. It does not breach above the signal line down here. And as far as the momentum goes, it's pretty much still in the bearish or the red momentum. So that would be a no-go. The next trade would be the short. However, this is an example of where VWAP, the green line down here, is extremely close and has already acted as support once. I would expect it to act as support, and thus I would not jump into this trade. And in reality, if we look down here at the momentum indicator, we see this momentum is in the dark red, and the columns are getting shorter and shorter, meaning the bearish momentum is actually waning. So I would not have jumped into this trade. But the next trade I would have pulled the trigger on would be this signal here, where we see the price pushing away from VWAP. It's above the blue line, or our moving average. It's also above the signal line on the RECON Scalper. And on the momentum indicator, it's the first neon green on the momentum trader, and to me that is usually a pretty good indication that this signal is valid. So I would have pulled the trigger on this trade, and again my profit target would have been down around the bottom of the previous swing low. Again, is 0.42%. And so I'll probably either round that to 0.4% or 0.45%. In this case, we'll call it 0.4%. And I would have hit my profit target on the wick of this candle right here easily. Actually, I probably could have got to 0.45%. Yep, I could have got to 0.45%. So again, 10x leverage, another 4% winner. Now, the next signal is this sell signal, and again, it does not breach down below the moving average, so we can kick that one out. And then we get a buy signal, which is above the moving average, is just barely above the signal line, but you can see the trend is heading down, and on the momentum indicator, the bullish momentum is starting to fade, and so I would not pull the trigger on this trade. The next signal, however, I would pull the trigger as we get a short signal. The price is down below the moving average. The price is breaking down below the signal. And again, we see this bullish momentum starting to fade. Now, you might implement a rule that you wouldn't enter this trade unless you actually have a red bearish momentum column. However, I look at the trend of the momentum, and in this case, the trend of the momentum is going down or falling or moving towards bearish momentum. Now, my stop loss for this trade would be back above the top of the candles and more than likely above these previous swing highs. And at a minimum, I will typically shoot for at least 0.2% on these trades. And again, never more than 1%. But as far as my risk goes, I would have more than likely looked at 0.2% for risk. So I'd need 0.2% for profit. And I don't get it before I get stopped out on the wick of this candle here. And so this trade ends up being our first loser. Now the next trade opportunity we get a buy signal to go long. We don't have a confirmation on the RECON Scalper. However, with the momentum indicator really kind of flatlining, I would have probably pulled the trigger on this trade. I might not have pulled it. We could eliminate this trade altogether. But at this point, I would look at VWAP. Prices above VWAP, that would be bullish. We are coming out of consolidation essentially, and we get a nice move up after a slight move down, and that looks pretty bullish to me. So if I pulled the trigger on this trade, I would probably have a pretty tight stop loss down around support for this particular move, and that's going to put us at 0.27, so I'd call it 0.25. And assuming I got my entry on the very next candle up on the wick, I definitely hit my 0.25 or 2.5% with 10x leverage. So that one would end up being a winner. Now, the next signal is to get short, and we get the cross of the EMA, albeit barely. And we do have the cross down below the signal line, and we are just starting to see the momentum starting to drop down towards bearish. So if we pull the trigger on that, this is going to be a loser. We would have our stop loss back up around the top of these wicks, which 0.25%, and we don't hit it there, and we get stopped out on this move up. We don't get into this trade here because we're in a trade, and so we miss out on this opportunity, and so we miss out on an opportunity of profit for taking this trade, but that's how it goes. And so we get stopped out for a loser. Now the next signal is a sell signal. However, we don't get the cross down below the EMA. We don't get the cross on the signal on the RECON Scalper. And the momentum is still somewhat high towards the bullish side. However, it has turned dark green. Now the next signal is a buy signal. However, it's not above the EMA. It's not above the scalper. And the momentum is actually bright red or the neon red. So that's bearish. So that would eliminate this trade here. And then the next trade is a sell signal. We are down below the moving average. We're below the signal line on the RECON Scalper, and we are definitely seeing bearish momentum with the neon red columns. So if we enter this trade, our stop loss would be back up, more than likely back up around the top of the moving average. I want to see the moving average act as resistance, so that would put us around the 0.25%. And we don't actually ever get that before we actually get stopped out on the wick of this candle here. Now the next opportunity would be on this sell signal here. However, we're not below the moving average. We don't really have confirmation on the RECON Scalper, and the momentum is still bullish, albeit it's the dark green and falling, but I don't see enough here to make me want to get into a trade. So I would skip that trade. And then the next signal is bullish. So we would have a buy signal. We're above the moving average. We don't have much of a signal on the scalper, and we really have flat line down here on momentum. But again, this is a trade I'd be willing to pull the trigger on, as we are actually consolidating. And anytime you can see a continuation in this trend, you might drop in a trend line here. And you can see we're basically in a continuation pattern of moving higher. So again, your rules are more like guidelines than actual rules. So if you pull the trigger on this one, obviously it's going to be a winner. You're also probably going to have a fairly tight stop loss because you don't have much confirmation down on the other indicators. So again, 0.25%. Which doesn't take too long for you to hit back over in this area here. And no, I'm not a hero and didn't get the full move. I'm scalping, so I'm not looking to capture the full move on these trades. But my objective is more winners than losers, and that is why I'm shooting for a 1-to-1 risk versus reward ratio. Now, our next signal is a sell signal. After this pump up, we get the cross down below the moving average. We get the cross over here on the RECON Scalper, and we can see that the momentum has pretty much peaked and is now starting to roll over towards bearish momentum. So if we enter this trade, we are never really in trouble of getting stopped out, even though the trade does move against us. And then on this big red candle down, and we hit our profit target as the price starts to dump. Now after this dump, and again, VWAP acting as support, much like it did back here, and that's why VWAP is on this chart, and that is why a lot of folks won't go short if the price is above VWAP, and a lot of times VWAP will act as resistance if the price is down below, so a lot of folks won't go long if the price is below. But here we see VWAP act as support. We get a buy signal, price above the moving average. We've got the candle above the signal line down here, and we can see the momentum has been falling and starting to turn bullish into these green columns. So we definitely take this trade here. Stop loss on this trade more than likely back here down around the bottom of these two candles. I don't want to see it get all the way down here. Again, I'm scalping, so I'm probably going to go for that 0.25%, which would put me right at the bottom of this candle. So that would probably be enough room to let this trade breathe. And if we shoot up, the trade moves pretty much in our direction, and we hit our profit back over in this area here of 0.25%. And keep in mind, these are the 3-minute candles, so I would have started trading back here. I think the first trade comes in sometime around 8:45 in the morning, and by the time we exit this trade, we're only at 2:30. So all these trades have happened during my normal trading day. And so then a couple minutes later, around 2:45, we get a sell signal, and we can see the price is down below our moving average. We get the move down below the signal line on our RECON Scalper, and we get our first neon red bar on the momentum indicator. So everything on that would look like a go. Looking for a stop loss, more than likely up above the wicks of these candles in this area. And that puts us around 37. So we'll call it 35 since we're above VWAP. I would probably round down rather than round up. And we actually see the price dump, and in fact dump through VWAP, but we hit our profit right as the price approaches VWAP, where I would expect support, and so that would be a good target for taking profit at 0.35%, or again 3.5% on that trade, so that would be counted as another winner. Now the next signal is a buy, and we're back above VWAP, so it didn't stay below VWAP very long, so still acting pretty much as support. And we get a move above the signal line on the RECON Scalper, and we start to see the momentum shift to the dark red, and actually on this particular one it looks like it's just above the baseline, so we could take a shot at this trade. I'd put my stop loss more than likely just below VWAP, because again I would expect VWAP to be support, and that's going to be 0.2%, and like I mentioned, that would be the minimum I'd be willing to take a shot at to make it worth my while, which would be a 2% profit. And if we look at the price action, we don't end up hitting our profit target before getting stopped out when the price rolls back over. Now this trade would not be a go, so I'm not sure why I have a green line there. We'll delete that one. And the main reason this one would not be a go, other than the fact it doesn't close down below, is I'm actually still in this trade until I get stopped out back down here. Now, the next opportunity is when we get a buy signal as the price again moves above VWAP, closes just above the moving average. We get a close above the moving average down here. And once again, we see the bearish momentum is getting weak and approaching our baseline. So we take a shot at this trade. And so we'd shoot for a stop loss, more than likely down at the bottom of the wicks. and that's going to be around 0.3%. If we go back further, you could even maybe look at 0.38, but I think in this case I'd look at the bottom of the wicks on these candles, which puts us down around that 0.3%, or 3% profit with my leverage. And as you can see, the price doesn't really move against us, and we end up hitting our 0.3% perhaps on the wick of this candle here. And so that would be a winner. And if we actually got out on the wick of this candle, I don't know as if I would take this next trade, as we get the signal down below VWAP actually, and down below the moving average. However, it's above the signal line and the momentum is pretty flat. The next trade I'd more than likely be ready to pull the trigger on would be this buy signal trade. And I would more than likely not actually enter on the signal. I would enter on the candle after the signal, so this candle here. Even though the price did cross above the moving average, it's just below VWAP, and I'd want to see the price get above VWAP. And I'd also want to see the price above the signal line, which on the actual buy signal it's not, but on the very next candle the price is above the signal line and the momentum is getting close to the zero line, and so that would indicate the bearish momentum is fading and could be turning bullish. So if we took this trade here, since we're dancing around VWAP, and I'm probably looking at 0.2% as far as my stop loss, or a 2% win or loss. And if we look at the price action, we end up hitting our 0.2% over in this area here. And so that trade would end up being a winner. Now, after exiting for a win here, the very next trade is going to be a short. And again, we're down around VWAP. However, the signal says short and we're below the moving average, and it's just below VWAP, and VWAP has turned red, so this would be a questionable call. However, with the confirmation down here on RECON Scalper, we're actually seeing the price roll over. We've got a red signal line, and we got the candle down below that signal line. And over on the RECON momentum indicator, which would help perhaps confirm this signal, I'm on the second neon red momentum column, and so the bearish momentum appears to be going in my direction. So if we took a shot at this trade, gonna have a tight stop loss because again we're tiptoeing along VWAP, and so I would have my stop loss more than likely up towards the top of these candles, call it 0.25%. And so I'm just looking for a quick 0.25% win. I don't get it, and the price doesn't actually hit my target until we get back over here on this red candle here, and then I would get that 0.25% or 2.5% win. And if you're curious, if we got stopped out, we are never in danger of getting stopped out back up in here, and we end up taking profit way over here, which ends up actually in our favor by being in this trade because it eliminates all this noise here as the price moves sideways. So none of these signals am I going to be pulling the trigger on because again, I'm already in a trade. And so this one would end up being a winner. And so to quickly recap, it looks like we pulled the trigger on 14 total trades, 10 were winners, 4 were losers, and for the most part, all of these trades would occur during a normal trading day, except for maybe this last trade. But over on Bybit, I can set my stop loss and take profit and literally walk away from the computer. And so I wouldn't actually have to stick around for this last trade to play out. I would just let the price action do its thing. And so overall, a very profitable day. Now, I think that's enough jaw-jacking. This video went a lot longer than I planned, but I really wanted to show you guys some details on how I would trade this particular setup. I will be deploying this strategy to more live trades in the future over on Bybit, and I will be trying to film those trades so I can share them with you on how I actually manage those trades. So now would be a good time to shoot that subscribe button if you don't want to miss out on those live fire trades. And with that being said, if you like this video, do me a favor, spike a like. If you have any questions or comments, drop them in the comment section down below. And at the end of the day, remember, never send your money into battle without first doing your recon. See you in the next video.